Good afternoon, my dear. Have an excellent lunch. Flávio Bolsonaro, he's so uncreative that he just imitates his father. Stop and think. His campaign manager first tells him to drop Bolsonaro from his name. But he keeps doing the same things, imitating his father. Why, André? Because there's no innovation. Like father, like son. No more Bolsonaro, people. He's not even creative. He's going to imitate his father in the motorcycle rallies. And he's going to start where Bolsonaro was stabbed. The stabbing, the knife attack. Anyway, exactly for what? To bring up the whole situation. Maybe he's looking for a way to play the victim too. It's totally crazy. And a new poll just came out where he just sank for good. Take a look here, my dear. Flávio imitates Bolsonaro and will do motorcycle rallies. One of them in Juiz de Fora, the place where the stabbing happened. Even though he took the last name out of his slogan, the strategy is to get closer to the political and electoral base that was built by his father over the past few years. Of course, right? His base is very weak, isn't it? And so on. And Flávio is trying to tap into Bolsonaro's political capital, but removing the name Bolsonaro from the ticket, leaving just Flávio and not Flávio and Bolsonaro. It's crazy, isn't it, guys? And do you think he's looking to get stabbed? Guys, just to play the poor, pitiful, miserable guy, stay alert. I don't doubt anything. You know why I don't doubt anything about these people? Not even a little bit. That's right. Stay alert, stay alert. And this survey here just cleared everything up. With 53 days to go until the elections, third way candidates are struggling in the polls. Indecente MDA poll released yesterday on Tuesday, Caiado has 4% of the vote. Zema with 3.3% of voting intentions. And Renan has 2.8% of the vote. Lula has 42.4% of the vote and Flávio drops. Flávio has 28.7% of the vote. The survey interviewed 2,002 people between August 5th and August 9th and has a margin of error of 2.2 percentage points. The survey is registered with the Superior Electoral Court under the number shown there. Notice that Lula has almost 43% of the vote. And Flávio has 28% of the vote. I've been telling you that we need to engage more, talk more with people, raise more awareness among people. Because Lula has a real chance of winning in the first round. Today, Lula has a real chance of winning in the first round with 50% or more of the votes. Okay? And it's interesting that these people here, look, are all right-wing. Who are these people going to take votes from? They're not going to take votes from Lula. They are going to take votes from Flávio Bolsonaro, but only in the first round. That's why we have to get involved, so that Lula wins in the first round. Because all the other candidates who are running, aside from these, are right-wing and take votes away from Flávio Bolsonaro. So we have to rally behind Lula. Stick with Lula to see if he can win these elections in the first round. Especially because these people here who take votes from Flávio Bolsonaro in the first round will line up with Flávio in the second round to try to take down Lula. It will be everyone united against Lula in the second round. And the demand will be huge. And the fight will be very intense. Bigger than the first round itself. So we have to stay alert to this situation. See, beautiful people, make it big. Make it big for God's sake. Here, look, Caetano, Caiado, Zêmio, Renan are polling above 5 in recent surveys and are trying to establish themselves as an alternative to Lula and Flávio, right? Before, they were kind of covering for Flávio, right? Now, they're really going after Flávio. Why? So they can grow. Pay attention to this. For these people, Zema, Caiado, Renan Santos, for them to grow in the polls, they have to go after Flávio because they take votes away from Flávio. They don't take any from Lula. Did you get it? So Flávio is going to get hit from all sides, not just from the left, but the right itself will do that job in the first round. In the second round, if there is one, they will unite. The pot calling the kettle black, they'll all be together trying to bring down Lula. That's why our engagement in the first round is so important. Besides sending an international message to the world that Brazil prefers Lula and not this cool-mongering Bolsonarist far right in Brazil. All right? So we have to stay united. In the meantime, and in light of this poll, the Bolsonaro supporters get desperate, right? Then the inflation rate came out. It was lower than expected. Brazil's exports grew. So like then they get really desperate having to say that Brazil is like Venezuela, blah, 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 all that nonsense that doesn't stick, right? It's interesting that Brazil, oh my God, is broke. According to them, the economy is bad. Everything is bad, according to them. But everyone got richer. Everyone in their asset declarations and everything in the electoral court, when you register your candidacy, everyone became rich. Nicolas Ferreira went up to millions of reais. Caroline de Tone went up to 1 million. Everyone there grew and became rich from 2022 until now. Wait, wasn't Brazil supposed to go bankrupt, guys? Besides, we also have to see where this source of wealth is coming from, right, guys? Oh my God, IPCA, inflation slows down to 0.7 in July with a drop in food prices. So far this year, inflation is at 3.44%. And over the 12 months ending in July, it's at 4.44%. That's lower than the 4.64% recorded up to June. So we had some wonderful news. Inflation dropped below expectations, below what was predicted. Yeah, that's Lula's work, folks. The government is working. Look here, even with the tariff hike, Brazil breaks export record in July. And the surplus grows by 31.9%. Exports totaled $34.1 billion. In July, the highest value ever for the month. China and the European Union drive the increase, while sales to the United States fall 12.2% year over year. You don't want what I'm telling you? Don't want it? There are people who do. Yeah, so stop being silly. So the junk owner is doing his thing there, right, during the day and all that stuff. He's losing ground, and Lula is managing to gain ground in the European Union, China, Russia, Italy, and all that. Do you understand, my dear? That's what a real leader truly is. Even with all the boycotting, even with all the United States strategies to try to bring down Lula, to try to get in our way here, exports still grew thanks to Lula's efforts. Take that, suck on it, because it's really, really sweet, but it's tough. And the way it goes, it comes back. Don't want it, troublemaker. If you don't want it, someone else does. Look here, Congressman Rogério Correa talked a little bit about this. Pay attention, pay attention.
Good news, inflation is slowing down. July inflation was 0.07. It dropped a lot. For the year, 4.4 is lower than the established target. But I'll give you even better news. Now let's look at the survey. President Lula, less than 1% of the valid votes away from winning the election in the first round. Look, everyone, this good news is because life is getting better, right? Let's be honest. Inflation is going down, but at the same time, the employment level is staying the same. Employment is even increasing. And more than that, workers' income also goes up. And the outlook for the next government, President Lula's government, is to do even better. That's what President Lula is saying. We already know how to do more. And we are going to do even more now in our fourth term. So, everyone, let's stay excited, okay? Always keep fighting.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Do the L. Do the L. And meanwhile, where's Flávio, Andrea? Flávio, you know, right? He's pulling the same stunts as his father. And to this day, hasn't explained why he was trying to collect money from Daniel Volcaro. It's been almost, I think it's coming up on 90 days. And to this day, he hasn't explained what he did with the money, where Daniel Volcaro's money went. So what about Lula and Lulinho and Petrinho and what? And he doesn't answer. He's a big-time scammer. Congressman Lindenberg Farias talked about this here. Look, because I want to know too. Where's the accountability? Where's the money from Bolsonaro the Clown's movie? Where did Daniel Volcaro's billions go? Oh my God.
Look at the nerve of this Flávio Bolsonaro. Check this out.
You met with other parliamentarians, so many parliamentarians. That was when you went to explain yourself about the Mastro case. Do you consider this episode behind you with your inner circle?
No, look, the one who needs to give explanations is Lula, right?
What do you mean? Is it Lula who needs to give an explanation? Lula was at Volcaro's house the day after Volcaro got out of prison wearing an ankle monitor to ask for money. Look, at that last meeting you attended with the lawmakers, you said you would present everything a month later. Until now, nobody knows what happened to the 61 million that Volcaro gave for the movie. But it's a lot. Stop! Are you going to forget about this? Do you think so? Still no explanation. You said you didn't know Volcaro. Then those audio recordings show up. Big bro, give me a clue. Big bro, I am and always will be with you. I saw your campaign logo, your slogan, that we, you're not fooling us. From your campaign, I saw it's from Volcaro. Volcaro and Flávio Bolsonaro are together in this process. Look at the nerve of this guy.
Oh, guys. Flávio's slogan, if I'm not mistaken, his new slogan from his new campaign strategist is, "We are going to win." That didn't go over well, right? The V. Now everyone is saying that that's a message. That V stands for Volcaro. It's Flávio sending the message through Volcaro there in prison. Keep your mouth shut, because I'm with you until the end. Andrea, could it be a subliminal message? I don't know. I just know that in this world, guys, there are no coincidences. They even think before putting a dot. Then the guy goes and puts a big V there. It can only be V for Volcaro. And sending a message to Volcaro, who's in jail. What do you think? I don't doubt it. On the contrary, I even believe it, as my grandmother used to say. I even believe in the proposed situation. No, guys, for God's sake, for heaven's sake. Meanwhile, Flávio says that everything is just fine. That it's okay to post an AI-generated video using someone's image, someone's body, and someone's voice without their authorization. That it's fine, that this is right, that this is freedom of speech. Oh my God, freedom of speech means that someone can take your body, your voice, your image, use them with AI and post them on social media. And that's freedom of speech without your authorization. And that's supposed to be fine. Zine, gente de Deus. Jesus, no, for God's sake. Flávio Bolsonaro is arguing before the TSE for the use of AI without the consent of the person portrayed. The senator's defense tries to avoid punishment for using his father's avatar at the PL convention. The president of the TSE, Cássio Nunes Marques, will meet with the other justices on the court this Wednesday to discuss the case. Are you going to tell or should I? Not even Nunes Marques. Not even for André Mendonça. Covering up for Flávio Bolsonaro in this case. I don't believe they're going to cover it up. Why? Because the TSE's case law is well established, guys, with resolutions, with regulations. You can't use artificial intelligence or deep fakes in an election. Even less so if you don't have the person's permission to use their image and voice. But for Flávio, that's freedom of speech. It's all fine. What kind of freedom of speech is that, guys? What kind of craziness is this? They're not going after Flávio, no. No, they're not. They're not going to hunt down Flávio. They're not going to challenge his candidacy registration, which he hasn't even done yet, because he's looking for a better vice, a better running mate, right? They're not going to, no, but they are definitely going to slap him with a hefty fine. And it has to be a heavy fine to set an example for others. Because here's the thing. You can use AI. Just say that you can. Because then everyone will use it. The left will use it too, of course, except for the age of weapons. Isn't that right? Now, if you can't, just solve it already. Then Nunes Marques scheduled a meeting today with the ministers to talk about this. And afterwards, the trial and the decision should come. And it's going to be tough on the defendant. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a beating on Flávio Bolsonaro. That's not allowed. And I repeat, neither Nunes Marques nor André Mendonça should cover this up because you just can't. And meanwhile, the self-inflicted damage keeps getting worse every day. They did a survey in Argentina to find out if the people there are liking this connection between Flávio and Javier Milei and the attacks by Javier Milei on Lula. And according to the survey, 70% of the population in Argentina says they are not satisfied with this, that this is not the attitude of a president of the republic. Look at that, shooting himself in the foot. Flávio Bolsonaro only allies himself with the dregs of the dregs. Why? Because nobody wants him. Look here, okay? PT supporters celebrate an Argentinian poll about Milei's attacks on Lula. The survey conducted by a public opinion consultancy in Argentina shows that 70% of those interviewed are against Javier Milei's stance of attacking Lula. Stop and think. If the people of Argentina are against it, imagine here in Brazil. Obviously not. Oops, calm down. Don't get nervous. Don't be nervous. Obviously, the Bolsonaro supporters applaud. Right? Because they love the whole shady lot. Right? They pretend to be champions of justice, morality, and Jesus, but they love shady dealings. Of course they applaud. But I'm sure that most of the population doesn't agree with that. It's a matter of protocol. It's a matter of respect. You understand? And it's shooting yourself in the foot, right? Javier Milei is actually helping Lula, just like Donald Trump. He's helping Lula with everything he's doing in this situation. First, because it creates the perfect environment for Lula to show what a statesman he is. That's the first situation. And the second situation is that nobody likes a traitor to the country. Does Lula have problems? Maybe. Who has to solve them? We do. And we are going to solve them where? On the first Sunday of October, in the election where we are going to choose our president. We are the ones who are going to solve it. We are the ones who have to decide, not a foreign government, Javier Milei, or Trump meddling in our backyard. Do you understand, my dear? So that's shooting yourself in the foot. And what will that end up leading to? Greater growth for Lula. And meanwhile, do you remember that network, that Discord thing? That had problems and all that stuff. Yanya said it had to be taken down and everything. Well, it got results. Look, very important. Exclusive, the NPD will suspend live streams on Discord after pressure from Janja. The National Data Protection Agency will order the suspension of live streams on Discord. The measure is the first step to meet the demands of the First Lady Janja da Silva, who has been advocating for the platform to be blocked in Brazil. In Brazil, the crimes this platform commits and allows people, criminals, to commit on it. Pornography and sexual materials on the internet violate laws such as the Penal Code, the Child and Adolescent Statute, and the Civil Rights Framework for the Internet, covering everything from unauthorized exposure of adults to the serious exploitation of minors. There they do everything: sex, drugs, incitement to crime, incitement to suicide, involving minors, teenagers, and adults, obviously. There it's a no man's land. The only thing missing is a Bolsonarist coming and saying, no, it's freedom of speech. Actually, there was even an incident last week where a young woman took her own life in a game on Discord. It was one of those challenge games, those crazy things, you know? So it really needs to be suspended. Didn't like it? Go kick rocks. Go to hell. We have to protect ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, our kids and teenagers. And Yanya is right. She's not wrong. Congratulations to Yanya. You really have to go for it, Yanya. Yanya, show up more, Yanya. Go all out. Meanwhile, the federal police asks Moraes to decide the fate of 10 weapons seized from Bolsonaro. The federal police asked Justice Alexandre de Moraes to decide what to do with the former president's weapons, claiming that the decision is not within their authority. While the decision hasn't come yet, the weapons remain in the storage facilities of the federal police in the federal district. Bolsonaro has 10 weapons. All of them are seized. And the federal police wants to know what we are going to do with these weapons. Because it's not up to the federal police to keep anyone's weapons. According to the disarmament statute, there are only 2 options for these weapons. Which ones, Andrea? Destruction or donation. Justice Alexandre de Moraes should order the destruction of the weapons or that these weapons be donated to some institution. Since most of his weapons are restricted use weapons, they should be donated to the army. Most likely, that's what Justice Alexandre de Moraes will determine. The donation of the weapons to the appropriate entities. For example, in the case of restricted weapons, to the army. Army, police, even the federal police itself, Justice Alexandre de Moraes can do that. Look, he can add these weapons to the collection of the federal police, the federal highway police, and PT Salutation. A prisoner shouldn't have a weapon. Or else, destruction. If that's the case, it could also be distraction. Speaking of traitors to the country, Congressman Ottoni de Paula spoke a little bit about this whole situation, about the attempted interference by the United States here in Brazil. Shall we see what he said here? Shall we check it out? Put it. Lula, Tetra. Not here, trash. Not here. Pay attention.
I hope you watch this video. It's a video that talks about national sovereignty or international subservience. Watch it with...
What he's saying here is that the Amazon is not ours. And he mentions that Argentina, when he tried to stand up and say that...
The Falklands belong to them. They lost.
He must have been part of the U.S. government, yes. I've already had a head-to-head meeting.
Argentina falou que as Malvinas eram deles em 82. É dele. A Amazônia é nossa.
What is he?
Saying here is that the Amazon is not ours. And he mentions that Argentina, when they try to stand up and say that the Falklands belong to them, they lost. That's what he's saying. So we need to understand our place and that there's no way to fight against North American interests. Let's keep watching.
The Amazon is not a drop of the Amazon nowadays that is really
Because
ours.
of its
Thank you.
wealth.
Minerals, biodiversity, drinking water, empty space, etc. It's not something that's supposed to be there, but democratic, right? And with the enlightened power and influence of the world.
So you can explore.
The Amazon cannot be forgotten.
Cannot possibly be forgotten or sidelined.
Well, and I would really like to explore it together with the United States. We would really like to take part of these initiatives together with the United States.
I don't know what that means.
I really like Al Gore.
Here he is already, President of the Republic, and he's talking to Al Gore. The subservient behavior is so extreme that even Al Gore can't believe what the President of Brazil is proposing, which is to exploit the Amazon together with the Americans in a subservient way.
The American, Mr. President, you and the President of Brazil.
The new president who likes the United States.
And the Amazon, which can be a solution for the world. I know you. We are enemies. Willing to talk.
Thank you. Always. Thank you.
Thank you.
He doesn't believe it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look at the lack of respect towards then President Bolsonaro. He turns his back on the president. He ends the conversation with Bolsonaro. Guys, that's it. What Flávio Bolsonaro does when he uses this policy of subservience to the Americans is just reproducing the thinking of former President Bolsonaro, his father. He and Eduardo Bolsonaro work so that our foreign policy is one that serves Trump's interests here in Brazil. Now you understand why Trump needs Flávio Bolsonaro to become president. It's because he will have a lackey in the presidency. In these upcoming elections, we will have to decide. Either we elect someone who fights for national sovereignty, or we will elect a family that wants Brazil to be subservient to American interests.
That's right. This was said by a right-wing congressman, Ottoni de Paula. That's why I always tell you, the issue of our sovereignty goes beyond party labels. It doesn't matter if you're right-wing, left-wing, or centrist. In this area, we all have to be united to defend our sovereignty. It's ours, our Brazil, our peaks, our life, our territory. Do you understand? So it's very important to have this awareness. And the Bolsonaro family, as the videos themselves showed, always was, a lackey. They've always been bootlickers for the United States. And Flávio Bolsonaro, like father, like son. It's the same thing. And that's why it's no more Bolsonaro's father or son ever again. Erika Hilton is being attacked there in the Chamber of Deputies. Look here, my dear. The Chamber's Ethics Council approves a preliminary report that could lead to the loss of the mandate of Erika Hilton's mandate. The committee moved forward with the Mission Party's complaint against the Congresswoman for a post on social media. In a 10-5 vote in the Ethics Council, they accepted the preliminary report to charge Erika Hilton. Hilton, which could result in the loss of her mandate. And why, Andre? Because she posted this right here. Look, I didn't. I'm not even a little bit worried if the scum of society didn't like it. The opinion of idiotic transphobes is the last thing I care about, wrote the Congresswoman. That's her opinion. And that's it. It's over about those who are transphobic. The problem isn't her opinion about the transphobic person. The problem is the transphobic person. But then Congressman Cabo Gilberto, a Bolsonaro supporter, went there and filed a complaint against her. His preliminary report was approved by a vote of 10-5 in the Ethics Council. The Ethics Council today has become a tool to persecute political opponents. There's nothing ethical about it. Nothing at all. We even remember the case of Glauber Braga, who had his mandate suspended. In fact, Glauber Braga spoke out and expressed his support for Erika Hilton, even saying that the Ethics Council no longer has any ethics or decorum. It is being used to persecute political opponents. It's a shame. And where is Hugo Mota? You just let it run unchecked, don't you, Hugo Mota? What a shame. Pay attention here.
A council without ethics has to end. It's becoming a habit. Having, agreeing, and then when the person defends themselves, they seek the ethics council on them to try. We want the
Let's
call.
go back here.
A council without ethics has to end. It's becoming a habit. They attack, they assault, and then when the person defends themselves, they seek the ethics council on them to try to silence dissenting voices. What happened today in the ethics committee regarding Representative Erica Hilton is absurd, a cowardly act. Representative Erica Hilton was attacked, she was assaulted, and then when she defends herself, the Chamber of Deputies Ethics Council now opens proceedings to consider stripping Representative Erica Hilton of her seat. This is a shame. Full solidarity with Representative Erica Hilton. And the council without ethics, I repeat, must come to an end. I want to know when the council without ethics will evaluate any case of parliamentarians involved with the secret budget. When is that going to happen? This complaint against Representative Erica Hilton is from the month of March. And now then, formal proceedings are now beginning with an admissibility review. But also in the month of March, So announced the filing of a petition to revoke the mandate of the representatives who have already been convicted by the higher courts for embezzlement of public funds, for misappropriation of budget amendment funds, more specifically, through the secret budget. And the news I have, and I ask the board if that's really the case, is that even though the complaint was filed in the same month, it did not reach the Ethics Council for deliberation. 2 federal deputies have already been convicted for embezzlement of public funds, for misappropriation of amendment money through the secret budget. And their cases are stalled at the board while they move forward with retaliation against Deputy Erica Hilton. I'll go further. I filed a complaint with the Internal Affairs Office so that Deputy Sochines Cavalcante, leader of the PL, could be held responsible for the more than 400,000 reais that were found in his locker. I ask, was that money from the secret budget? So far, I haven't heard of any progress made by the Internal Affairs Department regarding this case. Let's move on to the latest events. Representative Alfredo Gaspar has been announced as the vice presidential candidate for Mr. Flávio Bolsonaro. Alfredo Gaspar allocates 6 million reais in PIX amendments to the municipality of São José da Laje, in Alagoas. 6 million reais. PIX amendments. The Federal Court of Accounts will conduct an audit and says there's something fishy going on. Obviously, I'm the one using these words. But in the popular interpretation of what was in that report, without traceability, without the possibility of effectively verifying what had been done with the public funds, it's clear that the lack of oversight leads to this situation and this circumstance. The congressman who is now running as vice president with Flávio Bolsonaro comes out publicly and says, I have nothing to do with this. I only designated the amendment 6 million reais from a PIX amendment. That was the response from the vice presidential candidate on Flávio Bolsonaro's ticket. I'm not the one who's obligated to oversee it. It's the oversight agencies. I have nothing to do with that. The city hall is the one that has to be accountable. And now I bring you an allegation that until now, many of you, ladies and gentlemen, don't know about. The congressman can't say that he had nothing to do with it. A complaint arrived at my office and I went to check it out. And the allegation is valid. The vice-mayor of the city of São José da Laje was appointed to the office of the vice-presidential candidate before becoming vice mayor. And then you might say, no, but still he had nothing to do with it. The vice mayor left, and who took her place? Her husband, her partner. He was in the office of Congressman Alfredo Gaspar, nominated as vice presidential candidate on Flávio Bolsonaro's ticket. How can he say he has nothing to do with this? That this is the city's responsibility. If the people responsible for executing that money on the ground at the municipal level were until very recently his people. In fact, they were appointed to his office through the year 2026. Look, this guy won't be able to remain viable as a candidate at all. Because he can't say that the responsibility isn't his. Because his fingerprints are all over this. 6 million reais PIX amendment for this town of 20,000 inhabitants. In this city, with the involvement and influence of the former president of the chamber as well, Mr. Arthur Lira. That's absolutely no surprise to anyone. And is that just gonna be let slide? If that wasn't enough, when is the Ethics Council going to look into the complaint I made in this chamber that Miss Mariangela Fialek, known as Tuca, known as the de facto operator of the secret budget, continues to carry out her activities in the office of the Vice President of the Chamber of Deputies? When will it be that the Chamber of Deputies will use its oversight bodies not to go after those who rebel against corruption, but rather to hold accountable those who commit corruption? Ms. Mariangela Fialek was caught, so her cell phone was seized, and on her cell phone are her conversations with a very well-known figure from Brazilian history, who 10 years ago was sitting right there in that president's chair, conducting the session. At the first stage of the coup, the impeachment of former President Dilma Rousseff. I'm talking about Eduardo Cunha.
In short, Erika Hilton, who will soon be officially facing official proceedings that could strip her of her seat just because she defended herself against transphobes. Sóstenes Cavalcante, who had 400,000 found in his house by the federal police, still hasn't explained it to this day, and he hasn't even been brought before the Ethics Council. Alfredo Gaspar, vice on Flávio Bolsonaro's ticket. There's a suspicion of those 6 million he sent to a town of 20,000 people, whose vice and the other one worked in his office and isn't before the Ethics Council. A bunch of cases that should be before the Ethics Council and aren't. Gustavo Gaia, Gustavo Gaia was indicted by the civil police for corruption, federal deputy from Goiás, and he is not before the Ethics Council. Pastor Gil, a federal deputy from PL, convicted of corruption, is not before the Ethics Council. Joãozinho Maranhãozinho, federal deputy from PL, who was also convicted of corruption in the case of misappropriation of parliamentary amendments, already convicted by the Supreme Court, is also not before the Ethics Council. And Erica, because she defended herself from the transphobes by calling them the idiots they are, was sent to the Ethics Council of the Chamber of Deputies. What a shame, guys. I don't like to say that the National Congress is the enemy of the people. I don't like that term. But I understand why so many people still say that. It's because of these situations. How does Hugo Mota allow this to happen? Where is the penalty for Zé Trovão, who stormed Hugo Mota's days? They're stalling to this day. About Marcos Polon, who didn't want to leave the speaker's chair, just like Van Rato also didn't want to leave the chair. He stalled the process. He stalled the process. I don't even know if they were removed until today. They should have been removed, and nothing. So today, the Ethics Council has become a tool for political persecution of the opponents of the PL's criminal racket. That's what's happening. It's a shame. To some extent, Congress is indeed an enemy of the people. It's not without reason that Hugo Mota has one of the worst approval ratings of any federal deputy in history. Because he could bring order to the House. And he doesn't. He lets the mess happen. It's a shame. Boy. I want to play the video of Congressman Pastor Henrique Vieira because he draws our attention. Pay attention. Look at this.
Hey guys, another voting intention poll. Now it's CNT. Lula, our president, is leading in the first and second rounds. We remain ahead. What a decisive moment. What we're facing is no small thing. It's the far right. It's barbarism. It's misinformation. It's fake news. It's religious fanaticism. It's pro-gun ideology, militia logic. It's turning hatred into political practice. It's chaos. It's against the people. They are against ending the 6x1 work schedule. They are against a secular state and democracy. They deny science and research. They destroy forests. Anyway, it's the politics of chaos. But we are making progress. We have a vision for the country in our minds and hearts. Eradicate hunger, create jobs, distribute income, carry out agrarian reform, support Brazil's public health system, expand public education, give opportunities to our youth, respect diversity, take care of the environment. While they waste time with hate and money and weapons, let's move forward with a project of national sovereignty, democracy, and social justice. Racial justice, celebration of diversity. We can't let the toxic air of the far right take over our hearts. We're standing strong, doing activist and parliamentary work like this, with a lot of elegance and conviction. Our causes are rooted in love and invincible. It's very hard to stop us. We are ready to win a fraternal embrace.
It's short. Lula Tetra, did you get the code? Get the code. Get the code. It's short. Lula Tetra. Everyone united for this. In fact, Alexandre de Moraes has just determined that judges, justices, and appellate judges, public prosecutor's office, prosecutors, and attorneys must return money they received above the allowed ceiling of 35 by a decision of the full bench of the Federal Supreme Court this year. He said they will have to return the amounts received as extra benefits. That's why it bothers them a lot. Why? Because he has the courage to take on the powerful with his own people right there, you see? That bothers a lot of people. Do you understand? Just like Flávio Dino had the courage to face, right, the outsized salaries, the issue of the amendments that he's wrestling with to try to solve, right? The issue of the cushy compulsory retirement. That's why they bother people. And that's why we see a bunch of misleading headlines, all kinds of messed up situations, right, Flávio, where they defend the criminals just to attack the Supreme Court justice, especially Flávio Dino and Alexandre de Moraes. Why? Because they stir up a hornet's nest and bother a lot of people. So be careful, my dear. Don't fall for these people's lies, okay? Got it? Go for it, Xandão. Go ahead. Gino, you're the man. You're amazing. And Lula is a 4-time winner. Smash the like button, like, comment, and share. I'll be back at 4:30 p.m. At 8 p.m., I'll be live on André Gonçalves' channel. And at 10 p.m., I'll bring you the last news of the day. The links are in the first comment and join the WhatsApp group so you don't miss anything. Kisses. Thank you. Bye-bye.